The 2026 Open Championship at Royal Birkdale is just days away. And Bryson DeChambeau has made a decision that has the entire golf world drawing comparisons to Phil Mickelson, but not for the reasons you might expect. While Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Jon Rahm are battling the Scottish wind at the Genesis Scottish Open, DeChambeau is nowhere to be found. No competitive reps, no links practice, no preparation for the season's final major. 13 years ago, Phil Mickelson used the Scottish Open to finally crack the code on links golf. He adapted his game, kept the ball low, reduced spin, and let the ground do the work. The next week, he lifted the Claret Jug at Muirfield. But the comparisons to Mickelson don't stop at course preparation. DeChambeau's latest move, choosing YouTube content creation over competitive golf, has sparked fierce debate. Some analysts are calling it a fatal error. Others see a player who, like Mickelson, is unafraid to chart his own path. I'm giving all I can to make it happen, and if it doesn't happen. Welcome to Behind the Fairway. Today, we're breaking down Bryson DeChambeau's controversial Open Championship decision and why everyone is comparing him to Phil Mickelson. For most of his career, Phil Mickelson was the most talented player in the world who couldn't win the Open. He had the flair, the creativity, and the short game magic. But links golf? It was his kryptonite. Mickelson grew up on lush, pristine American courses. His game was built in the air, high-flying lob shots, towering iron approaches, and spin that would bite into receptive greens. But on the firm, windswept fairways of a links course, that game didn't work. The ball would bounce unpredictably. The wind would catch it. The spin would make it impossible to hold the green. It took me a while to learn how to get the ball on the ground without spin, Mickelson admitted. That was a real challenge because I played through the air, hitting lob shots and spinning the ball a lot growing up. The turning point came in 2013. Working with legendary coach Butch Harmon and short game guru Dave Pelz, Mickelson finally committed to mastering the links conditions that had given him so much trouble. He headed to the Scottish Open at Castle Stewart, determined to keep the ball low, reduce spin, and let the ground do the work. The result was immediate. He won the Scottish Open for the first time in his career. He took that confidence and that feel into Muirfield the following week. And on Sunday, he shot a final round 66 to win the Claret Jug, the one major that had always eluded him. The lesson was clear. You can't just show up at the Open and figure it out. You have to prepare. You have to adapt. And the Scottish Open is the perfect place to do it. Now, fast forward to 2026. The Genesis Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club is underway with a star-studded field. World number 1 Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, and other top players are battling the Scottish wind to prepare for the Open at Royal Birkdale. But one name is conspicuously absent: Bryson DeChambeau. DeChambeau is not in the field. The reason is simple. He's not a member of the DP World Tour. The Scottish Open is co-sanctioned by the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, meaning players need DP World Tour membership to compete without a sponsor exemption. DeChambeau never worked toward earning that membership, and now he's paying the price. But it's not just about membership. DeChambeau has openly admitted he's considering a future where he doesn't play competitive golf between the majors. His YouTube channel has become a massive success. Over 2.7 million subscribers. He's been testing prototype drivers, creating content, and building a brand that exists entirely outside the traditional golf ecosystem. I think, from my perspective, I'd love to grow my YouTube channel 3 times, maybe even more, DeChambeau said recently. I'd love to play tournaments that want me. But the decision to skip the Scottish Open has drawn direct comparisons to the lessons Phil Mickelson learned 13 years ago. And the golf world is stunned by what it means. DeChambeau's game has never suited links golf. The numbers are damning. He has played in 7 Open championships and missed the cut in 3 of them: 2017, 2019, and most recently in 2024. His best finish came in 2022, when he tied for 8th at St. Andrews. Outside of that, he's mostly struggled to find rhythm on these courses. According to Brandel Chambly, what DeChambeau does wrong is that he hits the ball too high and doesn't adjust his ball flight enough. Links golf demands low, running shots that can handle the wind and the firm turf. DeChambeau's power-based, high-launch game is the opposite. He, at that time, made significant changes. Ryan Lavner said of Mickelson's 2013 transformation, "He was fighting it differently. He was shaping it differently." Bryson has not made that sort of adjustment. Phil Mickelson, on the other hand, thrived in 2013 because he embraced the adaptation. He worked on 3-quarter shots with Dave Pelz. He shaped the ball differently. He kept it low and controlled his spin. However, if he wants to be viewed, I think, as a complete golfer, a golfer who can win all 4 major championships, a golfer like a Scottie or a Rahm or a Phil, I think he needs to get to that level and really devote the energy to playing this style of golf in this style of way, Lavner added. DeChambeau has 2 majors to his name, the 2020 U.S. Open at Winged Foot and the 2024 U.S. Open at Pinehurst. But the Open has consistently exposed the flaws in his game. And this week, he's missing out on a priceless practice week in these conditions, a week that he, more than any player in the Open Championship field, needs desperately. The comparisons between DeChambeau and Mickelson aren't just about course preparation. There's a real relationship between the 2 players, one that has seen Mickelson share his wisdom with the younger star. At LIV Golf Adelaide, a video surfaced showing Phil Mickelson giving Bryson DeChambeau a bunker lesson. The 6-time major champion explained the nuances of playing from the sand, opening the face, putting weight forward, and letting the club's bounce do the work. On this shot, what most people make a mistake is they have it too far back in their stance, like it's in the middle, Mickelson explained. But if you go off your front foot and you put all your weight forward, you can open up the face and drive it down into the sand. The ball pops up higher and softer. As the 6-time major champion hit the shot, DeChambeau was left in awe, saying, "Oh my gosh," before examining Mickelson's club. This wasn't the first time Mickelson had shared his wisdom. During a practice round at the 2020 U.S. Open at Winged Foot, Mickelson told DeChambeau about his experience in the 2006 U.S. Open when he hit only 1 fairway in the final round and still nearly won. He said, "In 2006, I had the best short game week of my life, and that really stuck out to me for some reason," DeChambeau recalled. "But I just knew that if I did hit it in the rough, I'm going to have to get it up and down quite a bit. So I made sure that I needed to practice those shots coming into the week, and I did that beautifully." The chemistry between the 2 is undeniable, but the comparison goes deeper than shared tips and practice rounds. The comparisons between DeChambeau and Mickelson go beyond their golf games. Both players have been polarizing figures. Both have been willing to challenge the establishment. Both have made decisions that alienated fans and fellow players. Analysts on the Fried Egg Golf podcast discussed DeChambeau's crowd interactions, calling it a PR stunt, while also comparing it to Mickelson's ability to win over crowds. When you see him doing everything with the crowds and winning them over, of course, it's a PR thing, the host said. But I suppose to the crowd, it doesn't really matter, because it's a bit like Mickelson. He won over the crowd, but Mickelson's not really like that. But the crowd doesn't care, because if they get a handshake from Mickelson and a high five and a smile, then they go home happy. But the host also acknowledged that DeChambeau's antics make him interesting and fascinating. You need someone who's a bit different. You need someone who people might think he's a bit of a tool, or you might think he's great. But at least people are thinking about them. The parallel to Mickelson is striking. Both players have been willing to chart their own paths, regardless of what others think. Both have embraced their roles as golf's mad scientists. and both have paid the price in terms of public perception. After all of this, the Scottish Open lesson, the YouTube pivot, the bunker lessons, the PR comparisons, what do the comparisons between Bryson DeChambeau and Phil Mickelson really mean? They mean that DeChambeau is following a path that Mickelson once walked, but he's doing it in his own way and with far more uncertainty. Mickelson's 2013 transformation was a masterclass in adaptation. He used the Scottish Open to learn the links conditions he had struggled with for nearly 2 decades. He changed his game, changed his mindset, and finally lifted the Claret Jug. DeChambeau is doing the opposite. He's skipping the practice week. He's banking on his natural talent to carry him through. He's missing the most valuable preparation week of the season, a week that he, more than any player in the Open Championship field, needs desperately. But there's another layer to the comparison. Mickelson, at 55, is now a cautionary tale, a man who burned bridges, alienated fans, and may have played his last competitive round. DeChambeau, at 32, is at a crossroads. He could follow Mickelson's path of adaptation and redemption, or he could follow his path of isolation and decline. If he performs poorly, then it's a bad sign for DeChambeau. A sign that if he truly wants to compete at the biggest events of the year, he needs to take his competitive reps more seriously, one analyst warned. The question that keeps me up at night is whether DeChambeau is about to learn the hardest lesson of his career, the lesson that Phil Mickelson learned in 2013. Talent alone isn't enough. You have to adapt. You have to prepare. You have to earn it. And if DeChambeau doesn't learn that lesson, the Open at Royal Birkdale will be a painful reminder of what could have been. And the comparisons to Phil Mickelson will take on an entirely different meaning.